Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? Thank you for joining. We're here for another week of OctoChat. My name is Michael Levan. I am joined by Derek, Bob, and John. Gentlemen, how's everybody doing this week, or today, or this morning, or this evening?
It's Friday
Perfect.
afternoon, man. It's great.
Just going to
Yeah,
cover all the different times. So we're, yeah.
we've got everything. We've got everything covered. We've got John in morning. We've got you and Bob in afternoon, and me in evening.
Yep, we're all good. We got almost 24-hour cycle there. Cool. Yeah, so today we're actually going to talk about what's going on at Octopus. So what we're all kind of course, working on, which is similar to what we do almost every week. We're also going to talk about the bigger things that are happening right now. We're going to take a look at some blogs. And then we also have a competition from last week to share your DevOps war story. And we got a few responses here. I'm looking in the thread right now, some pretty lengthy responses. So we're going to look at that at the end, and we're going to see who wins the best stories, which I don't know if that's a good win or a bad win, but either way, you're going to get a $25 voucher to shop at Octopus. So, Derek, I'm gonna ask you, because this is the big update of the week for you. How's the new laptop?
New laptop's beautiful. There was a little bit of a hiccup with delivery where someone got another laptop delivered to me, and I got all excited. It was from a previous colleague, and I thought it was mine. And I opened it up, and it was a Lenovo, and I was like, "What is this?" So I was prematurely excited. Take from that what you will, but yeah, it landed yesterday. It's going great, and I've actually been playing with it this week. Today, where I've actually written a blog post as well on it. So check out that.
Awesome.
It's been cool. So I set up some runbooks today. Well, a runbook, and installed 49 applications in under 15 minutes using Chocolatey, the community step template.
Yep.
That was amazing. Like 49 minutes, and that's including Visual Studio, like SQL Management Studio. I was like, this can't be right, but I did. I've got the laptop here. It exists. So yeah, no, it's so that's been cool. So yeah, definitely in love with it. It's the thing is absolutely flying.
Awesome. Did you get the 15-inch or the 17-inch? I forget.
I went for the 15. So I went for the i9 64 gig of RAM. And then, do you know what the terrifying thing? And this is the first time I've ever done that. Is I got a second 1 terabyte SSD because I'm moving over from a MacBook, right? And I love my MacBook, but it just wasn't quite doing it for me anymore. So this is the reason why I'm moving up. But one of the things that I did do was open it up before I even turned it on and added a second SSD. Bob actually sent me the details. He's got an XPS as well. But like opening up a hard drive, a laptop just as I bought it, kind of felt a little bit wrong. But the SSD is a lot, right?
Shout out to iFixit for putting together that teardown video on how to do that. They showed this one little trick on how to take apart the brand new XPS 15. It wasn't very apparent, but there's a little notch in front. Like, yeah, it's just right here. I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is. Yep. So
I think all of my tech tools from a hardware perspective is all iFixit stuff. Like I have like the different like they have like the 3-layer ones that you can buy and stuff like that, like with like all the tools in it, which is obviously really awesome. Yeah, they definitely have some good stuff in there.
I love Jay's 2 cents iFixit ads with the explosions that go on. Like you can fix your friends, and like it shows a screen of Phil, and he's like, "What are you doing, Jay?"
That's awesome. You know, I'm curious because I don't think I haven't used the Chocolatey template for installing like Visual Studio and stuff. But can you install like specific extensions for Visual Studio once you're installing Visual Studio?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome, nice.
Yeah, it's I believe it's a command line argument that you can pass in. So yeah, you install. I don't know. I can't remember if you can install specific like if you're going into the Visual Studio installer, like there's 2 options. There's like install like the .NET tools, and it like installs the whole world. Yeah. Or if it's like the individual components, I think it's just like the packages, like Node.js development or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think like a lot of them will cover specific tools that you want to be using anyways. Like they have a specific cloud package that you can install everything that you can deploy to Azure and stuff like that and all that. So that's awesome. Nice. So I'm definitely happy that you're happy with the XPS. That's awesome. Getting a new laptop is always fun. And we have here a few different, what is this? Oh, this is the blog for chocolating.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is the one Bob put together that gave me a little bit of inspiration. So definitely check it out. It's a really good read.
It's
Awesome.
The only thing that I get disappointed with now is I'm so used to. So to kind of give you a little bit of a background, a long time ago, back when I was in college, and this was when Windows 2000 kind of ruled the day, Windows 98 and Windows 2000. And every
Hot.
once in a while, yeah, you would just, I need to reinstall Windows. I got so much cruft on my machine. I'm just going to go tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and reinstall Windows. So it was like a whole night project.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
used to go, like, when I get a laptop, I'm so excited. I'm like, ooh, this is what I'm going to do all night, every night for the next, oh, God knows how long. And maybe last me 5 hours or something like that, installing all the updates, all the patches, all the different applications. And now you can do it in 15, 20 minutes. I'm so disappointed. It's like,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's unreal. Though. It's like, see how cool it is when you do that. Because even though I've been doing it for such a long time, it still amazes me. Like, I still think, like, because I think it was a comedian I remember years ago, and it was like about GPS, right? It's like people get really grumpy when GPS isn't quite absolutely on point. Like, you know, it might be a few meters out. And it's like, look at this thing, right? This thing you're carrying in your hand, right? Is the world is spinning, the satellites are moving, you know, this thing, so it's constantly auto-correcting, right? And it can get you down to a few meters, and people get like, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm a bit like that with some of the DevOps stuff, because I think I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. It was like where I was getting grumpy about, because I'd done a webinar with Chocolatey, and I was getting grumpy. It was taking 30 minutes. And I was like, what? Why is this taking so long? And then suddenly I was like, wait a minute, this used to take me 3 months. Like, calm down, Derek.
Yeah.
You know, like, so like that, it was like just taking a bit of a, you know, you need to appreciate how cool and amazing some of the stuff that you can do with automation.
Yep.
I know, for
you
sure.
definitely get spoiled with like cloud providers. It's like, I can't believe it's taking me 5 whole minutes to spin up a VM and get it installed. This is BS, you know.
Yeah, no, the way that we've gotten spoiled with cloud is ridiculous. Like, we are kids in a candy store now when it comes to just compute power. It's insane. I remember days when, you know, you'd be searching around for pizza boxes to install Solaris on or something like that, and then you're like, oh, do I have a graphics card or a network card or whatever? Like, am I going to go headless or not? And you know, you're trying to find, you know, places to plug it into and all that. Now you just, you know, click a button and whoosh, you've got a server, or whoosh, you've got infrastructure or whatever. It's insane. And it's just all through sliders and buttons and the magic of the internet. It's a great time to be a developer for sure.
I think it's probably like one of the most fun times as well in tech, out of like everything that's happened. I think this is obviously a really, really fun time. Also, because it seems like there's just so much new stuff that's coming out all the time, which can obviously be an overload sometimes. But if you're just interested in it in general, it's obviously a really great time to definitely be working with DevOps and developer tools as well.
Awesome.
So with that, I'm going to go this way and go to Derek. So, Derek, what's been going on? What have you been working on? What's some key things?
This week's been about webinars again. There's been a couple of weeks now I've been doing that, but there's a webinar on Wednesday. It wasn't me. It was a shout out to solution architect Adam Close and yourself, actually. Obviously, that was a great one on cloud, and that's cloud.
Look at him. He's like, not a big deal. Not a big deal.
So yeah, that and my new laptop, to be honest. There's been a few other bits of customer calls, but yeah, the runbook one, getting that all set up. But that's pretty much about it. But yeah, if you do AWS and are interested in cloud formation, Java, all that sort of good stuff, definitely check out youtube.com/Octopus Deploy. You may also already be on the channel because you may be watching it on YouTube, but definitely check it out. It got an average rating of 9.5, so really great content there.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome, man. And one of the things that I pointed out, and if you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. But one of the things is like Octopus has been in the .NET Microsoft Azure space for such a long time. Like that's where it got started. So seeing us now doing webinars with AWS, with other providers, and seeing us being able to split and go in different directions now and be able to support multi-cloud and showcase it, and people seem to enjoy it. That's obviously a really, really cool thing as well. So it's a good thing of the times, and it's really awesome to me.
Yes, very intentional.
Yeah. Is it? No.
Other cloud providers? That's craziness, you know?
Cloud agnostic is the goal.
Anarchy.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's definitely awesome. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the content as well. Adam put on a really great show. It was a lot of moving parts and a lot of pieces, and he was able to bring them all together very, very well in a very easy way to understand, which was obviously really awesome as well. So I'm going to go that way to Bob. Bob, how's your week been?
Good.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this week has been all about the customer for me. So I'm on the what we call the quick reaction force for our team. And so what we do is we just answer questions all day, every day for our customers. We wait for them to come in, we just answer them. We do some really cool stuff. I had a couple of really cool questions that came through this week. One of them was, how do I upload an artifact using from my build server? I was like, oh, that's a really interesting question. And I go, well, what's your use case? And they go, well, after we deploy to Octopus Deploy, we have our build server, which in this case was Bamboo, run a bunch of integration tests. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to upload the results up to Octopus Deploy. So a QA person, a business owner, somebody had to look over them. It's like, how can you do that? So I kind of set myself a little bit of a challenge, and I said, I think you could do this through the API. And it turns out you can do it through the API. And then I ended up recording an Ask Octopus video that got published today, 4 hours ago.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. And you get to see me without glasses. And the big reason for that is because when I wore glasses with that particular background, I looked like a demon, and it freaked me out looking at it, and no one else wants to see that. So yeah, I really enjoyed getting a chance to do that. It was my first time working in our new Ask Octopus format that Ryan has been putting together, and I've really enjoyed it. I also got a chance to play around with OBS Studio, so you get to see my floating head in there while I'm doing that.
I like it.
And then the other thing I've been working on was a new use case for the space cloner. So if you're not familiar with the space cloner, it's kind of my pet project that keeps growing and growing. And unfortunately, we have to provide that as like the very first thing. It is provided as is. But it is designed to solve a number of different use cases that I was personally running into. And I thought a number of our customers would be running into at the same time. And so I'm like, well, why can't I just publish this up there, let someone else have a chance to use it and contribute to it and hopefully make it a lot better? But the use case that came across my desk this week was someone wanted to sync runbooks across multiple projects. So they kind of had like a same core process, but they might have tweaked it with different variables, might have done different things with it and everything like that. I said, oh, could I already have all the infrastructure in place to clone a runbook. I already have all the infrastructure in place to do kind of like what they're talking about, where you can have a parent-child relationship. That is, in fact, one of the use cases. That's bullet point number 4 right there. I have a set of parent projects, and I want to update the existing child projects. So it was a matter of actually just going in and adding a few if statements and a couple of other options, and it was off to the races. I spent more time updating the documentation than I did actually working on the new feature, which I thought was kind of funny. So everything was over there and ready to go. But yeah, no, it keeps growing and growing. Every time I think I'm done with it, someone else comes up with a new use case and a new scenario. I'm like, oh, that would be a good idea.
Man, ain't that the truth?
I know, it's just nonstop. And then also, going to keep updating it as new versions of Octopus come out, and they're ready, and just verifying. I'll always make sure. I'll do my best to make sure that it's always stays up to date. But I know it definitely works on all the 2020 releases, because that's what it was originally written for. So
nice. That's awesome. Yeah. Going back to the first thing that you said, I think it's always interesting to hear, obviously, somebody like you that's been at Octopus for a long time, working directly with the product every day, still finding yourself like learning new things. And that's obviously both exciting and it keeps you, going. It keeps you like, oh, let's see what else is going on with this. let's do a blog about it, or let's do a video about it, or something like that. So that's obviously always really fun for all of us to be able to learn new things about the product that we don't know, or learn new things in general. So, John, how about yourself?
Yes. I've been looking a lot into Go recently. So, as folks know, we're actively trying to get the Go client for the Octopus API built. This has not been a small task, but we're almost there. I'm feeling really optimistic, and I've been writing just a ton of integration and unit tests to see if this thing actually does what we hope it does. So this is the repo here, and as you can see, we've been writing a lot of code, and I've been writing a lot of Go code, and yeah, feeling really optimistic about it. I think we're in a good space. I don't know if and when we'll ship this thing, but yeah, the docs are certainly not up to the standard as Bob's, but they're very limited. But I'll be adding all kinds of docs there as well. But basically, if you want to target the Octopus API via Go, and a good case for this is obviously if you're going to be using Terraform, then this is the client to use. And so far, so good. We're standing up spaces, and we're adding projects and users and accounts and variables. And what else is there? Project groups and API keys. Yesterday I was able to gen API keys via the API. So it's kind of like this sort of self repeating thing where I'm using the API to create keys.
Snake eating a tail.
Exactly. So creating users and all that sort of stuff. So good stuff. And I've been busy with this and feeling pretty good about it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The docs will get updated, by the way. So just in case you were curious. So
yeah, I've been pretty much in the same boat myself. So this week, I've been working on the Terraform provider. So the Terraform provider uses the Go client to be able to make API calls to Octopus. So a lot of the big things that we've been working on this week was, number one, I was ironing out some examples. Number two, I was adding to some resources for things like creating projects, life cycles, project groups, all of that. And then another huge thing is, as John said, same thing with me. We've been writing a lot of tests. Actually, one of the tests that I started writing yesterday, which is really cool, and I've used it in the past, but not as much, is TerraTest. So TerraTest is they call it a unit test framework, but like it's very much a mock, because you're literally creating the resources, but you're tearing them down afterwards. So that's specifically like if you want to test your Terraform code. And one of the things that was really cool, I got excited about it and pinged John when it was like 2 a.m. for him. Oops. About having the ability, and I've never seen this before, like really done in any examples or anything, and it was really cool. So when you have like TFR files, it's pretty much like your arguments that you're passing in at runtime, almost like they're variables, but it's very much like you're passing in arguments at runtime. And I haven't committed it yet, so sorry, I won't be able to show it. Tests are there, but the new lines that I added in today aren't. But essentially, now I've added in a line that I can have one Terraform.tfrs file, and I can have all of my Terraform code point to that one place, which is awesome. I just tested it before the live stream here, and it worked successfully, and that was really cool. So it's a good idea, and John brought it up last night, and I was like, yeah, we should definitely be doing that, because it gives you the ability to also not only have viable tests, but to be able to keep your code dry. It's like you're not repeating yourself over and over again, because in all of the examples, like you're always passing in an API key, you're always passing in a space, you're always passing in a server URL. And TerraGrunt, the company that made TerraTest, is actually all about keeping your code dry, and that's like what their products do. And they have a few different products, really cool stuff. One of the books that I recommend if you're interested in Terraform is Terraform Up and Running, and it was written by I believe one or two of the founders or co-founders of TerraGrunt. And it's all about having the ability to keep your code dry and reusable code and stuff. So that's been really cool as well. Definitely going to pick that book up soon. So yeah, so it's pretty much a lot of the stuff that I've been working on. The Terraform provider right now is like, it's there. We're going to be talking, internally and stuff with all of that. But in terms of the Terraform provider, everything that's been needed, everything has been added. It's really awesome. And then once we're good to go and we say we're in beta, we're going to be getting a ton of content out there. I want to be doing a ton of Ask Octopus videos with it. I want to do a ton of blog posts. Yeah, it's going to be some really, really cool stuff. So yeah, we're definitely really excited about that.
Hey, Derek, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but Derek, do me a favor. Go up to the top to the actions section. This is something that Michael and I have been working pretty heavily on. So we have a GitHub action which is kicking off a workflow, and in there, what we're doing is we're spinning up a actual Dockerized container of Octopus deploy. And we're doing our integration tests against a live instance. So if you jump into one of those workflows there, you'll see the workflow that's that merge branch one. You'll see if you go into the test artifact on the left-hand side there, you'll see that we spin up Octopus in a container, and then we do an absolute ton of tests against it, integration tests for it. So we're really trying to hammer the live API and verify through these asserts and such that we're getting absolutely the right sort of stuff. And we're getting some interesting comments. A guy in the comment section, White Finch, is saying that they've been working a lot with Pulumi. And a little comment, I'd love to help contribute to a lot of this work in Pulumi as well. So yeah, Pulumi and Ansible and Terraform, these are all sort of infrastructure as code perspective type products and such. So yeah, it's all kind of interesting stuff in ways people can stand up and work with Octopus.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the other really cool things about this workflow as well is the fact that when we do any push to any branch, we're running this workflow. So typically when you would see workflows, it's very specific. Like it's only if you push or pull or commit to the develop branch or the master branch or something like that. But the idea behind being able to push to every branch is to make sure that like any change that we make, regardless of where it is, it's not breaking anything. And then of course, like we're going to see failing tests as we start adding new resources and as we start testing like the actual code itself and adding new things and all of that. So you're obviously going to see a few of those in there, but for the most part, yeah, all the tests have been going through great. And it's been really, really awesome. The other thing too to point out is like obviously through this process, because when you're writing the Go client, it's obviously written in Go, and then all Terraform providers in general were written in Go. So this has been a really interesting experience for me because I really didn't touch Go too much before I started doing this, and I've been learning a ton about it, and it's a really, really fun language for me because a lot of my background has been in more of like cloud development and automation. So a lot of like PowerShell and a lot of Python. So really getting in there and like actually building something with a new language that I've never used before, it's been super, super fun for me. And obviously I've said this to John a million times, but a huge shout out to him for all of his help, development perspective and stuff. So yeah, no, it's super, super fun.
So what's interesting about this is that I'm not a huge fan of Go. Sorry, I like Go. It's fine, but it's got its quirks, and it's written for a purpose, which is to solve a particular problem that Google had around concurrency. And I mean, I come from an object-oriented background, but I've done a ton of C and C++, and I've also done Prolog and Python and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of think of myself as a polyglot. So Go's interesting. We haven't really dabbled too much around channels yet. The thing about that is when you're writing a library like a Go client, for example, you don't want to mess around with channels too much because you're putting in a lot of mutexes and locks and things like that. And you can complicate your code a lot. So we've just kept it pretty simple. Go is a bit interesting in terms of its thinking around things. Like it's missing generics and enums and things like that, which makes it just a little bit more of a challenge to work with if you're coming from a C# background or from a Java background. But yeah, it's been all right, and yeah, we're cranking this stuff out. There's a part of it that we haven't leveraged too much, which is code generation. It is something that we've looked into a little bit. We have handcrafted this thing, but in the part of the challenge there is our Swagger spec for our API has some edge cases that aren't covered, unfortunately. We're looking to get that up to date. But when it comes to code gen, you want the code to look nice and you want the API to feel good. So that's why we've kind of handcrafted this thing. It's like a craft beer, So we're trying to like It's not like mass produced. So you can code gen the stuff up. There's tons of tools to do that, but that's kind of our thinking on that.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And we were using Go Swagger for that in the beginning to test out what the auto generations would look like and stuff. But like John said, there's a ton of different stuff out there. So John, I got a question for you. Since you said that you've written in C and stuff before, so the thing that I feel like I always hear when it comes to Go is like C, but like writing it in Python. Would you kind of agree with that? Like, is Go similar to C?
Yeah, I guess so. It's got the concept of structs. It's got memory addresses and pointers. It's got some types in there that C certainly doesn't have, but generally speaking, it feels largely the same when you're writing it. The thing about C versus Go is that when you're passing around addresses or pointers or references, they're actually copied over, and that can be a thing that can bite you in the butt in C and in C++. Is when you're passing references around, you can get in some gnarly sort of issues there. Go doesn't worry too much about that. You can still leak memory, but generally speaking, if you do things with a very sort of prescriptive manner in Go, you can get it to work pretty well and get things done pretty easily. The other thing that's nice about Go, and C has a little bit of this, but Go in particular took this as a first-class citizen from the start, is the fact that there's so much integrated tooling within the Go CLI itself. So, for example, testing, generation, benchmarking, asserts, maybe not asserts, but they have a thing about that. There's a lot of that stuff already baked in. Now, there's libraries available you can certainly use, and so does C. C has those libraries too. But I think from the start, Go gets you into this mode of thinking about writing tests and getting all those things done. But as far as comparing the languages, they're a little bit similar. They're also a little bit different. So it's just like every language. Every language has got its quirks.
Right.
You gave me so much PTSD as soon as you mentioned pointers in college.
Yep.
I just remember my college professors like, no, now we're going to do pointers to pointers of arrays. I'm like, who does this?
You can do that in Go. You can do that in Go.
Oh my gosh. It's like, talk about mind bending yourself for hours on end. It's like, what's going on?
The reason why the pointers are representative in an API sense is because there's a difference between, if you're talking to an API that accepts a string, for example, there's a semantic difference between sending an empty string and sending nothing in the JSON payload, because that means, did you want me to update that to an empty string, or did you want me to delete it, or did you, etc. And it depends on the verb you're using. So there's a lot of stuff that gets involved. It's a bit interesting. So, but hopefully we'll have this thing out soon and people can start using it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think one of the I don't want to harp too much on Go because I feel like I'm going to start ranting. They're probably but,
go on. There you go. See, the puns are coming.
One of the really cool things that I enjoy about Go is like, let's say, I mean, there are a ton of different articles that come out where it's like top 20 programming languages or top 10 or something, and Go is always on those lists, but it's fairly down. Like, you always see Python on the top because I feel like Python's just the most popular right now because easeability of it. But when you think about all the new tools that are coming out, like a lot of the popular platforms like Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, it's so many different platforms that are the top things right now to know are all written in Go. So it's kind of like that. It's like the hero in the shadows, like kind of like Batman.
Yep. Everyone's got their opinion about which particular language they want to target. So awesome. So yeah, I sent this link over to Derek, and this is the classic sort of developer survey for Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow's been doing this for years, and they basically survey their audience, which is all developers basically. And so in the technology space, there's the most loved and most dreaded, et cetera, et cetera. And you can always see the languages that pop up to the top here. So these are the ones that people are using. So you can see Go isn't being used a lot. However, if you go into the most loved, dreaded, and wanted section, you'll see that there is certainly a preference for languages like Go and others. Go actually ranks higher than a lot of other languages in the most loved, dreaded, and wanted section. So first comes Rust. Rust is actually not a bad language. I've actually played with it. TypeScript some second, which I agree with. TypeScript is a better way of writing JavaScript, in my opinion. Python, I'm kind of eh. Kotlin is good. It's great if you're a Java developer. You should definitely consider Kotlin, and then Go is number 5.
Right. Yeah.
What's the most dreaded? I really I didn't click on that.
Yeah, there you go. Most dreaded VBA.
VBA.
Objective C, I agree with. Objective
Absolutely.
C. I don't like Objective C that much.
I looked at it a few times and I'm like, no, nuts to this. There's
And
no
Perl.
logical reason. Oh,
And Perl is bad. I would say probably well, that's fair. That's fair. JavaScript I thought would have been higher because of all its weirdness, I think. But whatever.
JavaScript is odd.
I think it's Stockholm syndrome at this point for a lot of folks. They're just like, I love it. Look, it's a language that didn't really grow up proper. It didn't have a good home. All right, don't pick on JavaScript. You know, come on. What are we talking about here?
Python's still the most wanted as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I was actually looking at another survey on like the languages that pay the most, and Go was actually up there on the top, and Python was actually pretty low. And I think here's the thing, from a wanted and like a loved perspective, I think Python is always at the top because, quite frankly, like it's very, very straightforward to learn. Like I'm not going to say it's easy because nothing's easy when you first start it, but it's simple. It's a simple language. And that's probably why you don't get paid as much to know it, because it's something that a lot of people can learn or a lot of people already know, versus a language like, Go, where there's not a lot of people doing it. So when a company or an application needs it, they're going to obviously pay more for it. So it's always kind of like this.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting article as well.
I mean, but you can also extend that logic to be that, Oracle DBAs make serious bank as well, even though I have yet to meet someone who's, man, I can't wait to work in that again. It's not necessarily the database, I will say. I mean, I was a developer in it for about 2 years.
Yep.
So it wasn't necessarily the database, it was the tooling and the ecosystem around it. That was just,
awesome.
Oh, yeah, it actually says it right there. Perl, Scala, and Go tend to have the highest salaries. Yeah.
Well, if this was a survey done back in 2000 or 99, I think COBOL would be at the top of that list because of that Y2K thing that happened, right? So
I have a feeling
all
that's
our
going to
bank
be
machines are going to fail.
And that's going to be coming back because all the COBOL engineers have all retiring.
Yep, I've heard that. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast recently on that where they were saying like a lot of the banking industries are going to be hurting because all those guys that were writing it are all retiring at this point, but they're going to have to bring it back and they're going to have to train people on it. So let's see how that goes.
It's like, yeah, you can bring me out of retirement, $400 an hour.
It's funny. I used to know a guy who done COBOL, and he used to earn a fortune, and it was in finance. Very interesting. It's interesting when you think though that sort of technology, when it gets old, it kind of, there's like a peak and a trough there where it gets it gets so popular that the numbers aren't so high, but then it comes back, goes up. As it becomes less popular, the salaries become higher, but the risk of being made redundant, etc., is obviously much higher. So it's a kind of risk versus reward situation.
That's why I got to know more than one language. You got to be a polyglot.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't think that we're in a space anymore where like you could know just one language.
Nope.
I definitely think you can get away with like 2 if you want to have a third. That's just like something that you like to play around with. Like for me, I think it'll always be, well, now Go is definitely in there, and Python and Power.
Look at him. He's converted.
I definitely did.
All hail the Go.
Yeah. So no, it's definitely been an interesting ride. So I'm gonna ask Bob and John, so what are the biggest things that have been going on at Octopus that we can share? Obviously, config as code has been pretty high up there, where it's going to be actually usable in a month. It's actually already September. Wow.
Yeah, big stuff coming down the pipe. It's on our roadmap. And I think people are really excited to have this feature. Basically, the idea with config as code is that you'll be able to take your projects that you have in Octopus and be able to represent them in a format called HCL. This is a format amongst many that are out there. HCL is just one of them. We chose HCL as our representation. We could have chosen JSON or XML or what have you. But basically, config as code is the idea is that we can take a project, represent it as HCL, and then save that representation in Git so that you can actually have your representation of a project stored in source control, which is a big, big win for a lot of folks. Being able to have a project represented in that way and then update it through source control gives you a lot more, control over the way it's updated and versioned and all that stuff.
I think the thing I love about it is that it's not necessarily you have to learn HCL, if that makes sense. The way that it works is that you can still use the UI if you want to use the UI, and the way it will save it as an HCL file in your Git repository. And then we also will provide a way that you can change the branches that you're working in inside the UI as well. So you can say, hey, I'm working on version 2.0 of my application. I have to change around a few bits and pieces of my deployment process because I have to now run a different version of, like, I went from Tomcat to Wildfly for some unknown reason, but you can go ahead and you can change that in just that particular version, that particular branch, and you can test it out, make sure everything looks good. And then you merge that into master, and your deployment process would be changed as part of all of that. So you can even also have the whole pull request, that whole workflow that goes along for the ride. Now, if you do want to edit the HCL, you can, and you can certainly go into your Git repo and do all those different changes on top of that. But you don't necessarily have to learn that. So we're not forcing everyone to go ahead and learn this if you don't want it. Very similar to how, like, if you want to do a lot of YAML work within Azure DevOps, you kind of had to do either one. And so that's why we kind of took this approach more along the lines of, like, you get your choice. You can do it through the UI, or you can do it through this way. And I like it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's definitely obviously really cool that we'll have the ability to have both options. A few different other platforms out there, it's kind of almost becoming like you have to pick one or the other, or you only have one choice. So it's obviously very cool that we'll be able to keep a little bit of everybody happy, which is awesome to go with.
If you are interested on it as well, you can also sign up on our website, and you'll get emails as we go through alpha, beta, general adoption as well.
To me, it's also, I mean, the fact that you can go through the UI and go through edit the HCL files yourself, it's also a matter of the level of expertise that's needed to edit something like this or change your build process. If you remember way, way, way back in the days, it was like the old NANT files, and I remember using cruise control and everything like that. And it was one guy that knew it because he wrote it all. And, it was like, hey, we want to make a change. And it's like, well, we got to wait till he's free to go ahead and, make this appropriate change. And so that is, I guess, is always the concern when if you're just like, hey, we have to do it through the file edit. Yeah, you have to do it via file editing. But with this, like, anyone can pick something up. At least that's our hope anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. In order to be I remember those days well, but in order to be proficient at that, just kill that part of your soul that isn't dead yet. So yeah, no, this is good. I mean, you definitely want people to be able to be successful with this. So that's why we're providing that capability in the tool as well.
Yeah.
Along with that as well, we've got Octopus Linux workers as well. So if you're using cloud, most of your work is done on workers there. And so before it was all Windows, you're now going to be able to do that on Linux as well, which I think is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
What's everybody's thoughts on that?
It was Windows 2016. Now it's 2019 as well as Ubuntu, which is really cool. You kind of get your choice of how you want to do that. The big reason I'm really excited for Ubuntu and Windows 2019 is that also allows us to take advantage of those execution containers on the cloud workers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest things too, like for example, let's say you have to spit out some file and store it somewhere, and you want to have the ability to, like, run some bash commands and stuff like that. Now you're going to have the ability to do that against Linux workers like you would in any other standard environment, which is obviously awesome. So you'll get a choice of both, whichever one you want to use.
I love our roadmap. I'm really excited about it.
I'm really excited to
Sorry.
we have that very last entry, and most people don't we've kind of glossed over it a little bit, but
Mm.
being able to edit the YAML, the XML, and property config file updates, that's huge for us to be able to help support Java a lot better. Because to be honest, for quite a while, it was a little clunky to go ahead and do that. And now it's going to be very similar to how we did it with .NET, where you can just provide it's almost by convention at that point, which makes me really excited.
I thought .NET config files were complicated. Then I took a look at a couple of Java ones. I'm like, holy smokes, this thing's really verbose. Like we're down to configuring what color of background you want for your application. So no, but yeah, you got to do this obviously if you're supporting Java apps. Very important to have these things configured correctly. Otherwise, apps don't install correctly. So or run, which is even worse. There's nothing worse than knowing something's installed and then you go to use it and it just bombs. So it's like getting those games. Remember those CD-ROMs you get with the trials on them, and that like half of them wouldn't run. You just that disappointment you would have as a kid. Like, I want to play whatever it is, Starship Troopers, Revenge of the whatever game made by some lonely developer, but it doesn't run. So yeah, it's the same idea.
I love that you went right to Starship Troopers. I'm like, what have you been watching?
Nothing. I'm a kid of the 80s, so I remember I grew up with a lot of stuff.
I always thought that was because my computer sucked. It wasn't necessarily the problem with the disk.
Yeah, there was lots of problems. Everything.
Got a good question here.
So if I enable EAP, execution containers for workers, it won't change anything that's currently configured, but rather will allow me to use that option for each deployment process. Is that accurate? Yeah,
it's an opt-in feature. So as part of that, you can go in and you can say, instead of running this script, whatever the case may be, directly on the worker, there will be another radio button where you can say, I want to run this on an execution container. And you'll have the ability to go in and select the container that you want to run in. The Docker image that you want to run it under. So you have the ability to use the pre-built Docker images that we've provided. And then we've also had the ability to run your own Docker images if that's something you really want to do.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've had it turned on in our sample instance for quite some time, and I haven't changed a bunch of my deployment processes over just because there really isn't a major desire yet for that, but I could see that happening.
Whitefinch definitely liked that response, Bob.
Yes.
I think that's gonna be the case with most of the stuff that we do. So with config as code, it's gonna be opt-in. It's not gonna be something that you turn it on and immediately every project converts over. You go in and you configure each project, so you can ease into it to make sure that yes, this is in fact what I want, and this is in fact going to work for me.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that part about our product the most is that we don't drag you kicking and screaming into feature sets. Like, it's like, hey, it's there. Use what makes you happy, and we're going to continue to support what works and works well. But we're going to add this new thing, and if and when you're ready, it's there.
Yep. Yeah, it's awesome. There's nothing better than having to turn on a feature if it's been in preview and then you're forced to do it 2 weeks later.
You said yes. You agreed to the EULA.
And that's just the nature of all the feedback that we got in the past, because there have been a couple of features that we have released. I think Workers is probably the best example. That if you back way back when it first was released, if you added a worker to the default worker pool, all the stuff that was previously being done on your Octopus deploy server immediately started getting done on those default workers. And it wasn't very apparent as to what was going to happen. And it was kind of like, yeah, back to that whole point where you get drug kicking and screaming into something else. It shocked a couple of our customers. They're like, what the heck just happened? Because everything started breaking because they had all the software installed in their Octopus deploy server and not on the worker.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a solid approach for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, Derek, I know that you wanted to talk about some security stuff.
So yeah, we've now got a director of security. Jim Berger has taken that position over. And one of the blogs, and also always check out our blog with some really great stuff. Obviously, Michael, you've done some really cool stuff there recently. What we do have now is we're trying to get out and talk about security and how secure Octopus is. And it's a really great blog. So I'm part of we run things here called schools, and it's a kind of thing that you attend. It's part of your role. It's not really part of your job description, but it's something that you're quite passionate about. I'm passionate about security, and what Jim's going to be doing is working over for quite a long time now, I'd imagine, because Jim's awesome, and it will likely be here for quite some time now. But we're really trying to push our message out where we're trying to talk about security, and we're going to be going for some ISO certifications as well. So something just to check out if you're interested in security. Some of the things we do have a big announcement about our security. I can't talk about it just yet, but maybe towards the end of September. But yeah, basically we've got this blog now. We're talking about what is our security posture. Certainly, obviously, if you've got any feedback for us, then we'd love to hear it. But certainly check out the blog. We're very honest, we're very open about everything. But definitely trust in Octopus, but verify with us. There's some really cool stuff coming up in that security space.
Nice. It's awesome. Yeah, I think that should almost be a default at this point. I mean, I think like one of the big things when like cloud and stuff first started coming out is like, well, it's up there. We really don't have to secure it or do anything about it because we're not running it, so we don't have to do anything. And it's very untrue.
Not my problem, as I say.
It's funny because if you have a look as well, it's one of the things that's really, I'm not sure I've saw people be quite this open when it comes to security. So we've actually got a roadmap there that you can read in GitHub. Obviously, Jim's a developer, so he writes everything in code, which is great. So there's stuff there as well, so you can click off and check out a bunch of this stuff. I think this is really awesome because we are going to go for the 2701 security cert. So definitely check it out.
And I think the thing is I mean, what kind of really accelerated a lot of this was Octopus Cloud, because for so long it was a self-hosted platform. And to be honest, when we fill out a lot of these security set assessments, it was like, I don't know, man, you tell me. It's you're configuring the server. So like, do you support do you support Active Directory? Yes. Do you support like all these like very specific things about Active Directory? I'm like, I don't know if you turn them on or not. That's completely up to you. But having Octopus in the cloud now, I think makes it kind of just come right to the front of our head, right on Front Street, so to speak. So yeah, that's why I was really excited when we started doing this. And anything that we do for the cloud, like any improvements or anything like that, naturally extends out to all of our self-hosted customers, which is just fantastic.
Well, that's the thing with the security side of things. You can implement it really well, harden everything to the nth degree, have isolation of networks, SSL, etc., or and integrate it with third party. You could use Azure Active Directory, MFA, etc., or you could make it one user, HTTP only, really bad passwords. So it's really hard, and then use the built-in SQL with, password one. So it's totally down to how you configure it, and I think you're absolutely spot on there, Bob.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than finding your server or network device end up on Shodan. I don't know if you guys have ever checked out
Pastebin or something like that. Yeah, awesome stuff.
It's really fun. Like sometimes I just go on there for the fun to see like Active Directory servers on there and like public facing.
Oh,
like, awesome, nice, yeah. Yeah,
fantastic.
Really, really good stuff. And it's obviously really cool to see a roadmap. I mean, yep, absolutely, Whitefinch, 100% agree. Let's see. So, did we want to talk about the blogs? Yeah, right. So I think that's something that we're obviously really passionate about in DevRel and CS. So if everybody who's watching doesn't know, we do have a blog here. It's just octopus.com/blog, and we write a ton of stuff. It's constantly up to date. There's like always stuff going out. I feel like I always see notifications for going out all the time. Yeah, and this is definitely a really cool spot. We have some PowerShell stuff in here, Azure, AWS, all of that. There's my pretty
shout out to Michael. Not a big deal. There you go.
Yeah, so we do that, and then we also typically cross post to dev.to if anybody's interested. If you're on that platform and you want to check it out there as well, we'll typically do a lot of stuff over there too, which is awesome. Yeah, so our blog, I would say it's a little bit of everything. Like it's from a technical perspective, but it's also from just maybe a cultural perspective. Like we had that really good blog post by I believe it was Alex Yates, right, John? We
Yep.
talked about uh, topic is
Gatekeepers.
right now.
I
Yes,
love that.
yeah. So
Honestly,
sorry, Derek, go ahead.
I really love this because, you know, honestly, like I remember when this first came out, right, and it was like I was just like one of those. I was like, yep. Like it's just honestly, check this blog out. I love this. It's how descriptive it is. The pitter patter, wish wash. You can imagine, you know, living in Scotland, we get a lot of that. That it's to do with your car, wipers. And honestly, yeah, I've been there. Definitely check this blog out. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. And there's also one on like change management as well, right? That we posted recently. That was a really, really good one as well. And
just to give you guys a heads up, we've got a series of articles coming around on config as code. We've got Adam Bertram talking. He's got about 3 articles coming out where he'll be talking about the various formats. He'll be talking about config as code as a process, etc. So good stuff there. We've got lots of articles coming around. And if you guys are at all interested in writing about or writing around CI/CD, DevOps, etc., for Octopus, send us an email. Let us know.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. And with that, we're at the 51-minute mark. So do we want to look at the winner for this week?
Yes, let's do it. Come on.
All right.
My favorite part of the show, picking winners.
All right. So I think my screen should be up here.
There you go.
Yep, perfect. Cool. All righty. So wait, Derek, are we looking at your screen or my screen?
We're looking at my screen. Sorry, I've jumped ahead of you there. Sorry, Michael.
Yeah, no, I share screen, but I think it went to yours. Weird. Okay.
Let me remove yours, and then there we go.
Okay, perfect. There we go. All right.
I was just judging Derek about all the channels he subscribed to. I always judge people on their screens. It's hilarious. Yeah, he's wearing that. He's got that desktop. Interesting. Kind of person is that? What does that say about him as a person? Anyway.
That's beautiful. So all right. So we got a few. So I'm going to try to just read through it very quickly and then give the gist because these are obviously very long here. So
I see VBDLL and Com Plus with Ryan. That's already near the top of my list.
Yeah, this right here, we never want to.
Yep. As soon as I see that, I get a shudder.
All right. So Pete May said, I had to build a series of PowerShell scripts to deploy the applications across web app, data layers. My script did things like zip up, upload, unzipping, stopping and starting app pools. For new installs, I scripted the creation of websites, web apps.
All hand-coded.
Installs, all hand-coded. Woo!
Wow.
That's actually what drove Paul to write Octopus Deploy, because I think he was doing something very similar.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably up there for sure.
Good one, Pete. Good one.
So, all right, we don't think it's that weird, but we're going to read it anyways because we want to know. So our dev team wants to keep all web.configs and app settings file totally empty when we push them into Git. All right.
What?
So every time anyone wants to pull down a new repo, they had to manually put in all the. So instead, I made a PowerShell module that grabs. Well, good on you that you made that module to be able to do that.
Exactly.
Then I just copy the commit. So it's actually funny because I've seen this before where for some reason, like it wasn't even because we weren't allowed to. It was because nobody like that was writing the web configs. They just didn't commit them. So every time we pulled them down, they would be like, oh yeah, just copy this, paste it here, copy this, paste it here. And we're like, all right, well, this isn't the best way to be doing.
But that's so stupid. Like, what happens if you got a new developer on it? He doesn't know what to put in there. He's just gonna be like, I don't know. I'll just slap on the keyboard and hope everything works.
Well, what happens when you add a brand new config file into a branch? I mean, a config entry into a branch. Oh, I got to tell every developer except, Bernie's out for the day. Well, I guess I got to make sure I tell him tomorrow, or hopefully he reads his email before he starts debugging. I mean,
the guy that writes all this is out on vacation for 2 weeks.
yeah.
I guess we won't work. All right. So 2016, I started working on automating our manual IS deployment. Well, this is
right there.
Just because of that, to be honest, or just because of this. But anyways. So I was lucky that Octopus had 10 free projects. Yep, absolutely, for both cloud and on-prem. For everybody that's listening, the license was a hurdle one, which was easy to solve, but stopped us from gaining speed until it was resolved. I had to inquiry every week for at least a month to figure out if the bill for the license was paid. All right.
He's just giving us props there. He's just giving us props. All right, skip over that. No. I meant just that.
So we've automated IS, BizTalk, and Spring applications. Okay, so let's go.
Spring BizTalk. Oh my God.
Sorry to hear that.
I feel sorry for you for BizTalk. That's the that was the bane of my existence for about a month, when we didn't realize for an enterprise application, you sure have to do a lot of maintenance. And if you want to do maintenance, you have to turn it off. I'm like, what is this?
I've got a little context on that as well with Harold. Harold actually done that. He turned BizTalk, which used to take 3 to 4 days to deploys less than 10 minutes, I think.
Wow.
So yeah, it's quite a time saver.
Right.
A lot of clicking with BizTalk.
Yeah.
Click.
Packages to deploy anything into production, which
basically he was throwing things over the fence, back and forth. So
that's always fun. Not sure
lots
if
of
this
stuff.
is but if you say it's not interesting, chances are it's interesting. So you just suck this in. Let's see what this one says.
Yep.
So we had to write our own PowerShell scripts to use Octopus to export, import scripts, JSON, so project groups, steps, templates, etc. The next bit, this is obviously something that the Terraform module can come into play for.
Oh, there it is, the shameless plug.
Shameless plug, yeah. I'm totally on shame. The next list, due to each instance project IDs were different. Write up a script to find the correct project. Oh, that's
Okay, that's fun.
It's got particularly interesting with the step templates that use inline scripts, not including the JSON. So it was tough to differentiate between instances to work out which instances need PowerShell updated. Since then, we have rebuilt our step templates to the NuGet and then pulled from source control. So the process is getting updated the scripts. Okay,
that's good.
We are now up to around 50 custom step templates. Nice. We are now in the process of building out a full import and export process where Octopus can self-export and self-import after a diff between the previous export. Nice. Also, another one I've done is written a custom Azure DevOps task to stamp build items with specific data so we can assembly files.
Very common.
Yep. Change this week. Yep.
I like that one.
Yeah, I do like that one too. When I think war stories, I think disasters. Yeah. It's not fun to laugh about it at the moment. It's fun to laugh about it afterwards.
I'm laughing in sympathy and empathy. Come on. I have many of my own. So.
And maybe the worst one I can remember is when my colleague accidentally dropped our entire production database.
Bobby tables.
Little Bobby tables.
So I've been in this position before. Luckily, it was a customer database, but it was one of their test databases. So that was always good. Yeah, I've definitely been there though. So I feel you. MySQL Workbench allows you to have multiple connection open. Yep, making
it's like SSMS.
It's easy. So here's the thing. When I don't do this anymore because of this incident that I had, but I used to have I'm not even joking, 10 or 15 tabs open in iTerm. And I would always just switch between them depending on what server I was SSH'd in and stuff. And I was actually luckily I was in the wrong database and I did something and I was like, oh, this was just a test database for the customer. But still, nonetheless, it still gives you that feeling of you're just do I go home and update my resume now or
Yep.
So
it's a shame that with say Macintosh or Linux or something like that, when you're going to make some sort of change, you have to enter in your password again, at least. It's too bad you can't do that with SQL servers. Hey, you want to run this update statement. Are you really sure you want to run this up? Maybe Markham is some sort of way that you can do that.
Right.
Or
the best
always
way I found to do that is to just control through permissions. So anytime you're going to do a drop or delete, you have to log in with a special account.
I think that's pretty much what I was going to say. Yeah, have a
Yeah.
read only permission that you you do 99% of your work in.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, absolutely 100%. So
Or any schema updates.
Oh yeah.
Schema updates. Ugh.
So this one hits home to me. So I can definitely understand where Phil is coming from. I can also I'm very empathetic right now. Well, Ryan can't win, but I'm
No.
sorry.
Who's that guy? Forget Ryan. Who cares about Ryan?
I'm also very empathetic about this because this just makes me just pain.
He's just pandering to the crowd. Oh, I had to deal with DLLs. Whoa, poor me.
I mean,
I'm sorry. We love you, Ryan. We love you.
honestly, I think it's Justin just because of the that was the one with the you can't have any config entries in your config files.
Oh yeah, that one's great. I love that one.
Yeah, that to
that
me
one,
is just
yeah.
that to me is like
empty
number
config
one.
file. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's just asking for trouble.
I mean,
That's a winner.
like Control C and Control V, something like this. That's not okay. Okay. All right. So what do you guys think? Do we have a winner?
Well,
Justin.
I like Justin's as well because it's like you're handing a scalpel to a person who's never operated before, and you're like, well, here you go to the patient. It's like you're like call the doctor and like, here, start cutting and keep cutting until the patient feels better. And if you have no config file in there, like, what are you asking for? So yeah, I think Justin's definitely going to be the one that wins.
All right. So then we're gonna respond right here. Congrats.
Winner, chicken dinner.
The winner.
Whiner. You are a whiner too. There you go.
Oh boy, that's awesome. All right, cool. So I am going to do this. And then really important question here from Harold. How do you keep the passion to write blogs about the stuff that you do? So it depends on why you're doing it, in my opinion, and it depends on like the purpose that you're doing stuff for. Like, for example, are you building your own brand and are you trying to gain credibility in the community, whichever community you're hitting? Are you trying to maybe have like a second source of income or like passive income, writing about something that you want to be writing about? Do you want to be helping others? Do you want it as a job, right? So how do you stay passionate? For me, it's a pretty straightforward answer. Like, I'm passionate about tech. So when I learn something, one of my things is I think the best way to learn something is to teach it. A lot of blog posts that I've done and that I continue to do, a lot of like the video training and stuff that I've done for various platforms, it's actually all about stuff that I never really did anything with, but it gave me a reason to do it. Because you know how like you're kind of maybe sometimes sitting there like on a Saturday or something or in the morning, you're like, I really want to do something cool. Like you're in front of your computer, but you're just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like I got to try to make something up. Stuff like this, writing, doing video training, it gives you a reason to learn something because you're taking what you're learning and you're putting it into practice. So I would say, how do you stay passionate? I mean, it's the same answer I would say is like, how do you stay passionate in tech? Like either you enjoy it or you don't, type of thing. How do you guys feel about that?
Totally agree. Here. I think naturally humans are storytellers. That's the way we convey our history. And I think that if you're writing blogs and you're telling stories, and I think people love to hear stories, and I think it connects us. I think people write blogs so that they feel connected to their audience. And that's probably the best approach to take, which is rather than trying to prove myself by writing this blog post, I'm just going to tell a story. This is a story of a guy who worked with a team who decided not to check in any configs into source control. And let me tell you, this was an interesting time for me. I thought, why am I on this team? Why am I working in software? Who are these people I'm working with? Why are they not writing configs in source control, etc.? And telling a story like that, connects us. So storytellers.
Yeah, I would say the other thing too for me is like the ability to give back. I mean, every single person in tech, everybody Google something, what they're trying to figure out, whether you're going on a company website or you're just doing a Google or you're looking through GitHub, you're always doing some sort of search. And then you find an answer that helps you. And without that person putting that answer out there, you may or may not have like solved your problem. So I think it's the same thing as like, I want to take things that I've done or that I want to do or that I'm trying to do, and I want to give it back, because chances are maybe somebody else is looking for that as well. You never know. I like to think like I can't be the only person that's trying to do this type of thing, and that obviously helps as well. Let's see. After searching and searching for answers, there's often that one blog post that saved my butt. Yep, exactly. And we've literally all been there, and we'll always continue to be there because there's always something to learn. And I also think on the flip side, there's always something to give back, meaning like giving back to the community, whether you're writing or creating videos or even doing something like we're doing right now, live streaming, YouTube videos, anything, anything that you can do to give back and in turn, that will help you learn as well. You have the ability to take a topic that you know nothing about, learn it, and then see if you know it enough to have the ability to teach it, write that blog post. And then I guarantee you, after you write that blog post or do that video or anything, you're going to know more about it afterwards than you did before you actually wrote it. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Yeah, I like that. I don't do so much on the blogging side of things. I tried it. I'm trying to get better at it. I'm more of a presenter. Like I've got my own stream on a Monday night, and it's about Azure DevOps, etc. And that's where mine's is presenting. However, it's the exact same thing. It's about sharing that information, because I think people used to treat knowledge as like a hostage situation. Knowledge is power, but but now it's actually about sharing the knowledge. That's really not so much power, but that's where that it feels like the right thing to do. Definitely, there's been a big switch there, but that's my key bit there. Is it's just about letting other people know, because there's that many technologies, there's so many ways to do it, just sharing some experience. And I think, like you said, John, as well, it's about sharing a bit of a story as well.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people share that sentiment, Derek, because I like, if you have between writing and videos, like for me, at least in my opinion, like writing's more difficult because it takes longer. So it takes longer to like get your idea out there. It's also like, and again, in my opinion, writing is very much an art. There's a very specific way that you should be writing getting started guides, how you explain stuff, the words that you use, because it's very easy to like take something in your head and how it's worded in your head, but then you put it on paper and it's jibber jabber to somebody else. So there's a lot of different things that you got to change around as well when you're writing versus just when you're in front of a camera and you're talking, because it's much more natural because you're just able to say what you want to say and put it into context. So yeah, I definitely think a lot of people share that same feeling of videos over blogging and stuff.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, we're at an hour 7, and we can wrap up here. Does anybody else have anything to add for today?
Nope, I am good.
No.
Yes.
A good weekend.
Yes, you two have a good weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we will of course see you again next week. Take care.
See you guys.
Cheerio.